How long have you been with Wilmington PD?
15 years this July.
And your general responsibilities at the Wilmington Police Department?
Patrol, answering calls, working the desk.
We'll direct your attention to November 15th in 2008, in the afternoon hours. On that afternoon, were you working that day?
Yes.
And would you have been in full uniform and working in a marked cruiser that day?
Yes.
Single-person cruiser?
Yes.
At some point that afternoon, was there a dispatch to which you responded?
Yes.
And approximately what time was that?
Approximately 3:05.
Where were you at the time that the dispatch was issued?
At the police station.
And upon hearing the dispatch, what steps did you take?
I left the station and responded to the address.
And about how far from, or how long did it take to get from the station to the address in question?
Good estimates, 2 miles-ish, give or take. It didn't take very long to get there, 3 minutes, easy.
Okay, just keep your voice up for us, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And when you went from station to the scene, was there emergency siren on?
Yes.
Were there other officers at the station who you know were responding at the same time?
Yes.
When you were en route or approaching the location, where was it that you ultimately ended up? What address?
31 High Street.
And did you learn whether any other officers had already arrived to the cell?
Yes.
Who was that?
K-9 Officer Palmer.
When you got to 31 High Street, where did you go? What did you do?
As we were arriving, Officer Palmer had radioed the medical trauma pads. I exited my cruiser, I ran to the trunk, got my medical bag, and then proceeded up the driveway of the residence.
What observations did you make as you first observed the driveway in that location at 31 High Street?
There was a subject lying on the ground, and there was also a male subject off to the side in handcuffs.
And to whom did you respond initially?
To the party on the ground.
What observations of this person did you make?
They were motionless, and there was blood on the ground.
And how was the person positioned? Face up, face down?
Face down.
And in terms of the driveway, how was he oriented using High Street as the point of reference? Where was his head relative to High Street?
He was laying up the driveway.
So his head was close to High Street?
Close. My research was correct, towards the residence.
When you responded, who else was responding to that person on the ground? What other officers?
Sergeant Bradbury, Sergeant Murray, and K-9 Officer Palmer.
And what was your particular, well, let me step back, what observations did you make of the person physically? What appeared to be seen?
Face down, blood on the street.
At some point was he turned over?
Yes.
And what did you observe then?
His chest area was covered in blood.
And what was your assignment, specific assignment in terms of rendering aid?
I removed the victim's shirt, and subsequently I used a trauma pad and tied the animal bag to try and stop the bleeding.
What area of that person were you particularly focused on?
Left chest.
Did you hear anything as you began to attend to that area?
Yes.
What was that?
Sergeant Bradbury was using the animal bag, performing rescue breathing, and it sounded as if air was coming out of the left side of the chest.
When you attended to that area, how long were you in that position along with the other officers attending to the person on the ground?
It was not very long.
What happened next?
I was relieved by firefighter Taylor.
Do you have an estimate as to how long you were with the individual?
It would be a guess.
Once the fire department arrived, did they take over the complete medical piece with respect to the individual on the ground?
Yes.
And what was your next step? What did you do next?
I got up on the ground and the subject in handcuffs was walked and placed into my cruiser.
Where was your cruiser car? Sorry. Where was it?
Towards the end of the driveway, almost like on the street in front of the driveway.
It was on High Street at some point?
Yes.
At the end of the driveway? And when the subject that you're discussing, that's the person who you observed in handcuffs?
Yes.
Once that was done, were steps taken to begin to secure that scene?
Yes.
And then did you take another step with respect to going back to the cruiser to take some actions?
Yes.
Okay, please describe that, what you did and what happened.
I opened the door of the cruiser and I read Miranda rights to the party in the back seat.
Before you actually read anything, did the individual say anything to you, or make any statements before you?
Yes.
And what happened? You opened the door and something was said?
Yes.
What was said at that point?
The person in the back of the cruiser made a statement that the kid kept coming down.
And at that point in time, what did you say to the person in the car?
I advised him just to be quiet and I wanted to, read on his rights.
Did you do that?
Yes.
How did you do it? Did you read from something?
Yes, I took a Miranda card from my uniform pocket and I read his rights to directly on that card.
And as you did that, did the person in the vehicle listen to you and respond? Tell us how that process went.
I read each section of the card and I paused and asked him if he understood. And he stated yes.
And that particular card, is that something that you always carry with you in the course of your responsibilities?
Yes.
Showing you a document. Is this appeared? Do you recognize what's on that document?
Yes.
What is it?
It is a copy of the Miranda card that I had with me that day.
That's a photocopy of the card you used when you spoke to the individual in the cruiser?
Yes.
And DiPrisco, Mark?
Yes.
Each time you asked the question, the individual indicated they understood?
Yes.
Now, was it at that point that there was some questions asked with respect to the location of an item?
Yes.
Okay. And the person who was in the rear of your cruiser, that individual that you interacted with on that day, do you see that person here today in this courtroom?
Yes.
If you would please identify him.
It's the gentleman in between the female and the boy.
With court's permission, the record reflect the identification of the defendant by this officer. With regard to that initial discussion around the knife, what indications were made by the defendant?
He was asked the location of the knife.
And what response did he give?
He stayed in the area of the puddle.
At some point, did you go back to the cruiser with other officers?
Yes.
Okay, was further inquiry made about the knife that second time you went back?
Yes.
Okay, what did the defendant say at that point?
He made a statement that the kid kept coming at him.
And with respect to the knife, what happened at that point? Or what did he say, and then what did he do?
He was asked again about it, and he stated he would show us where he thought it was.
So what did you and the officers do with the defendant at that moment?
We removed him from the cruiser and brought him to the area where he thought the knife was.
Where was that area in terms of the driveway scene that you were in?
Roughly in the same spot where the victim had been.
That approximate area?
Yes.
At that point, did the defendant make any further statements after stating it might be in that area? What else did he say?
We couldn't find it, and he was asked again about the knife.
And what did he say at that point?
He made reference to an automobile.
Was that the first time you heard anything about an automobile?
Yes.
Do you remember specifically what he said, or?
I believe it was in the car.
And what else did he say at that point?
We asked him what car, and then he said maybe Jen asked him before.
And was that, those were the statements that he made with respect to?
So, yes.
Okay. Approximately that time, were you assigned another task in terms of the defendant and taking him from the scene?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I was instructed to bring him back to the station.
Did you do that?
Yes.
And before you brought him back, did you make certain observations of this person at that time?
Yes.
Please explain.
Prior to being placed in the back of my cruiser, I conducted a search to make sure he didn't have any weapons. And during that, I noticed some blood on his hands and on his shoe, and I did not notice at the time any injury on him.
And in the course of that search, did you recover from him and take some certain items?
A wallet and cell phone.
And with respect to the cell phone, do you recall where that was?
Honestly, I don't.
And with respect to the wallet, did that contain some identification?
Yes, I believe it did.
And was that the point at which you learned the individual's identity?
Yes.
As you transported the defendant, Mr. DiPrisco, back to the Wilmington station, approximately, again, how long of a trip is that?
2 miles, 2.5 tops, in fact.
Did you ask any questions?
No.
Did the individual make any statements to you?
Yes.
Tell us.
He asked several times how Paul was.
And did you respond at all to that?
I told him I didn't know.
Upon returning to the station, in your experience as an officer, are you familiar with what's called a booking procedure?
Yes.
And was that the next step upon your return to the station that was anticipated for the defendant?
Yes.
Did you bring the defendant to the booking area?
Yes.
And were you present at that time with respect to any rights being read to him?
Yes.
And what were the rights that were read to him?
Sergeant Taxel read him memorandum from a booking sheet.
Did you remain there in the booking area for a period of time?
Yes.
And at some point, were you relieved from that?
Yes.
And who was actually in charge of the booking itself? Was that Sergeant Axelrod?
Yes.
Now, Officer Krzeminski, in terms of your experience at the Wilmington PD, are you familiar in the general sense as to how 911 calls may be transmitted or relayed to the Wilmington Police Department from the state police in the situation where there's a cell phone call?
Yes.
Please explain that if that's best as you can.
A cell phone call comes into the state police. They will speak with the caller, get the pertinent information, and then they will call our station and relay that information.
And at the time you were in the station on that November 15th date in 2008, did you in fact hear the actual 911 call coming in?
No.
You only heard a dispatch from your Wilmington dispatchers.
Correct, yes.
What was the nature of the information you received?
That dispatcher received a cell phone call reporting a stabbing at 31 High Street.
So I'm just going to show you this item. Do you recognize this item labeled as State Police 911 calls 11:15:08 31 High Street, Wilmington?
Yes.
So you're understanding that this is a recording of 911 calls that were made to state police that relate to Wilmington in connection with this incident?
Yes.
See this be marked, please, as the next exhibit.
Yes.
please.
What's going on?
Get an ambulance on it. Just got to talk to this guy that's over here fucking stabbing him.
What happened?
This fucking kid from Captain trying to get my stuff out. I'll get an ambulance down. Police are down. Delaying like police get down here. 51 High Street, Wilmington. 51 High Street, Wilmington.
Listen, did you say someone got stabbed?
Yeah. This kid attacked me. Please get a fucking ambulance down here. Please get an ambulance, please. Get a fucking ambulance. 31 High Street, Wilmington. Please get an ambulance down here. I'm outside. Please get an ambulance.
I Wilmington State Police ranking in.
How are you?
I just had a gentleman on the line yelling and screaming at 31 High Street.
Okay.
Said there was a fight and someone's just been stabbed.
Okay.
All right?
We'll get about that.
State Police 911.
Can you get an ambulance down here?
What's that?
I just called. You guys get an ambulance and a fucking guy blew to death in a fucking driveway.
Right, sure. Where are you?
31 High Street, Wilmington.
Okay, what happened?
This kid attacked me. I'm trying to get my stuff out of the car. I'm trying to get him. I'll try to pack my stuff out.
Who's doing? Is it you?
No, it's this guy. It's this kid fucking that was looking down the stairs. Please get a fucking ambulance down here. They're all over the fucking place. Please. Please, 31 High Street,
Listen, they're
Wilmington.
on their way. Hold on. Do you know what happened to him?
Yeah, I fucking stopped him with a knife.
You stopped him?
Yes, I was getting in my car. He attacked me. And he wouldn't let up. I stopped him once.
Where did you stab him?
In the fucking stomach or something. He was, I was getting in my
What's your
car. He
name?
slapped me. Joseph DiPrisco.
Joe DiPrisco?
Correct.
What did you do with the knife?
I don't know. He just wouldn't stop. This kid, I don't know what the fuck this kid's on.
Yeah, what did you do with the knife?
I have no idea. He just kept attacking me.
No.
He tried to wrestle around with around and his fucking blood all over. He had to come out. Jesus Christ. I fucking can't believe it. You could have approved the fucking ambulance. The fucking
Is there a police crew over there now?
Put in the ambulance, yeah. Put in the ambulance. Can I hang up?
Yeah. State Police 911.
Get an ambulance down here. Get an ambulance down here at fucking 31 High Street.
What's going on?
Get an ambulance.
Yeah, just that last part, it was replayed. That was the beginning. Agree, huh?
Yes, I do agree, yes.
And officer, after you had been relieved of the booking, did you have any further assignments with respect to the investigation at that point in time?
No.
Thank you very much. I have no questions for this officer. Thank you.
Good morning, officer. My name is Jeff Carpet. I represent Mr. DiPrisco. I have a few questions for you. When 88 Gentile asked you what Mr. DiPrisco said, I think initially when you approached her over the car, you said something to the effect of that Joe said he kept coming at me. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, but actually what Joe DiPrisco said was the kid would not stop. He kept coming at me. I just wanted to get away. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. DiPrisco was asking how Paul was doing. Is that right?
Yes.
Did that happen at all out at the scene, or was it just back at the station? Or at least from your perspective, what you heard.
During the transport, he asked how he was doing. I recall that.
And did you know at that point? during the transport, whether he had survived or not?
No, I did not know.
At some point, did you learn whether Mr. DiFilippo had survived or what his condition was?
Yes,
And when was that approximately?
after the booking.
After the booking? And just timing-wise, so the call came in at approximately 3:05 p.m., is that right?
Yes, sir.
You go out to the scene, you get there within a couple of minutes, is that right?
Yes,
You spend some time out there, which you talked about, and talking to Mr. DiPrisco, looking for the knife,
yes,
and took Mr. DiPrisco back to the police station for booking.
yes.
And booking began, what time approximately? Was it 4 p.m. or?
I don't recall.
Is there something that would refresh your memory?
Perhaps in the reports.
If I could just have a moment, Your Honor.